Good morning. Welcome to Community Unitarian Universalist Church. My name is Elena Westbrook. I am one of your worship associates, and this morning worship is brought to you by the worship associate team. And I want to thank everybody who was part of putting this together. And Jen Mason did the slides, and Sarah's doing a homily, and Ina has been working on the library with, is Donna here today? Yes. Donna Lane. Ooh, beautiful and sequined. So I want to thank everybody. And Angel, who is our newest worship associate, is going to help. So it's quite a team effort. I am really glad that you are here today, whether you are joining us in person or online. We are glad that you have chosen to be with us this morning. You know, as Unitarian Universalists, we do not all subscribe to a single creed, but we do have a shared set of values, and they are centered around love. One of those values, pluralism, says that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. And another value is justice. We work to be multicultural, beloved communities where all feel welcome and can thrive. And then my favorite, equity. We declare that every person is inherently worthy and has the right to flourish with dignity, love, and compassion. Those of you who have been around for a while may recognize that as a rewording of our old first principle. So this wording is from our new ones that we voted to approve at the General Assembly last June. But because of these values and because of our commitment to a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, still in there, we also treasure our libraries and freedom from censorship. So that's why we, as the worship associates, decided to put together this service as an appeal to protect the freedom to read and write and share information and perspectives even when they're unpopular. The reason that we treasure libraries is really the same reason we treasure each other, because each person, like each book, has a unique perspective and unique wisdom to share if we will just open ourselves to learn from each other. So whoever you are, wherever you came from, and wherever you are on your journey, we are glad that you are here today. When we come together here on Sunday mornings, it's like we create our own evanescent library of human experience. Here we are with all of our different stories in different covers. Some of us are showing a little wear. You know, in book lingo, they talk about rubbed spines or slight foxing, which describes the dark spots that can appear on some paper. There's a wonderful illustrated book called Slightly Foxed But Still Desirable. And that fits many of us, doesn't it? The point is that it takes all of our stories to make a library, to make a life. We are poetry and fantasy and how to fix a leaky faucet and history and politics. We are stories of courage and courage failed and trying again. We are tales of love shelved right next to the betrayals, fear and hope rubbing jackets. And it takes all of those stories to make a full life. Susan Orlean, in her book, The Library Book, talks about taking her son to a Los Angeles library branch right after they moved to town, and how it awakened memories of going to the library with her mom when Susan was a child. When we stepped in, the thunderbolt of recognition struck me so hard it made me gasp. Decades had passed and I was 3,000 miles away, but I felt like I had been lifted up and whisked back to that time and place, back to the scenario of walking into the library with my mother. Nothing had changed. There was still the same soft tsk of pencil on paper, and the muffled murmuring from patrons at the table in the center of the room, and the creak and groan of book carts, and the occasional papery clunk of a book dropped on a desk. The scarred wooden checkout counters and the librarians' desks as big as boats, and the bulletin board with its fluttering, raggedy notices were all the same. The sense of gentle, steady busyness, like water on a rolling boil, was just the same. The books on the shelves, with some additions and subtractions, were certainly the same. It wasn't that time stopped in the library. It was as if it were captured here, collected here, and in all libraries, and not only my time, my life, but all human time as well. In the library, time is dammed up, not stopped, but saved. The library is a gathering pool of narratives and of the people who come to find them. It is where we can glimpse immortality. In the library, we can live forever. Let us now join all our many stories in worship together.
It matters what we believe. Some beliefs are like walled gardens. They encourage exclusiveness and the feeling of being especially privileged.
Other beliefs are expansive and lead the way into wider and deeper sympathies.
Some beliefs are like shadows, clouding children's days with fears of unknown calamities.
Other beliefs are like sunshine, blessing children with the warmth of happiness.
Some beliefs are divisive, separating the saved from the unsaved, friends from enemies.
Other beliefs are bonds in a world community where sincere differences beautify the pattern.
Some beliefs are like blinders, shutting off the power to choose one's own direction.
Other beliefs are like gateways opening wide vistas for exploration.
Some beliefs weaken a person's selfhood. They blight the growth of resourcefulness.
Other beliefs nurture self-confidence and enrich an individual's feeling of personal worth.
Some beliefs are rigid, like the body of death, impotent in a changing world.
Other beliefs are pliable, like the young sapling, ever growing with the upward thrust of life.
Hi.
Hi.
I have a confession to make. I'm a bookworm.
Yay!
Are there any other bookworms out there? Well, fellow bookworms, I'm glad to meet you. I was the kid that read books under the covers with a flashlight when I was supposed to be sleeping. At breakfast, I read the cereal boxes and anything else I could get my hands on, like the morning newspaper. Remember when there were 2 editions of the paper, morning and evening? Yeah. Once, when a typhoon shut off our electricity for days, I read by candlelight until our power was restored. I felt like Abraham Lincoln, studying for the bar. We had plenty of reading material at home. My family subscribed to Life and Look magazine and McCall's and Good Housekeeping. And my sisters and I shared a subscription to Highlights for Children. My mother purchased a set of Encyclopedia Britannica from a fast-talking encyclopedia salesman. It came in its own bookcase with a special slot for the Atlas. And a set of children's classics came with it. Titles like Black Beauty, Arabian Nights, Treasure Island, Kidnapped, Robinson Crusoe, Alice in Wonderland, and Through the Looking Glass. You know the ones, right? I was also fascinated by my father's Air Force survival manual and became convinced that I had contracted some of the combat diseases it described. Not too many 12-year-olds get trench foot, but I thought I might have it. And scabies, I was sure I had scabies. I think it was probably mosquito bites. But still, there were not enough books to keep me occupied. My mother's solution was the public library. We had a wonderful library in Vancouver, Washington, full of so many books it could have kept me happy for years. My family went to the library every Saturday. The best part of walking in was the smell. After all these years, I still love the smell of books. Now, I knew how to use the card catalog, but I relished wandering the stacks for some special treasure. Some book I never knew existed until I discovered it on the shelf. My sisters and I always left with a big armful of books, enough to keep us busy for the whole week ahead. When I was 12, I had to leave my beloved library behind because my father had been transferred to Mill Valley Air Force Base, a radar station on Mount Tamalpais in the San Francisco Bay Area. The Air Force provided our family a rental house in Novato, California, at that time a small, sleepy town in Marin County. After we settled in, the next order of business was a trip to the Novato branch of the Marin County Library. At first, I was not impressed with this small library, housed in what seemed to be a storefront from the 1880s. The children's section was tiny compared to the previous one I had enjoyed in Washington. And it only was one small room for the children's section. So naturally, I branched out and started reading books from the adult section. I didn't think too much of this because I've been reading books from the adult section in Vancouver too, so it was just normal for me. I spent most of the summer before 7th grade reading young adult fiction mixed in with books from the adult section, when one day I selected several books of poetry. One of the poetry books had an intriguing title. It was Howl and Other Poems by Allen Ginsberg. I innocently took my books to the checkout desk, and the librarian looked at me, and she looked at Howl, and she looked at me, and she said, "Can I speak to your mother?" I thought that maybe I had selected too many books and the librarian wanted to ask my mother if I was going to be able to finish them all before they were due. But that was not it. When my mother came to the checkout desk, the librarian said, your daughter wants to check this book out, but she has a juvenile library card, and this book can only be checked out by an adult card. And bless my mother, she did not even examine the book. She just said, well, then give her an adult card. And I was given an adult card. That book, Howl, had been a banned book and had been involved in a famous obscenity trial. But by 1963, when I was 12 years old, it was shelved in my small town library, and I was able to read it because I was given an adult card. Nowadays, it seems some adults are afraid of giving children the gift that my mother gave me, the ability to have free range of a library. They seem to fear knowledge. They seem to believe that if children and teens are ignorant of something, then they are magically protected from it. They seem to believe that by pretending something didn't happen or isn't happening, they can spare their child pain. They don't worry about the pain and damage they are causing children who now can't see themselves represented in books and other media. These people go to the school board meetings and demand books be removed from school libraries. It seems these books fall into three broad categories. According to PEN America, in 2022 to 2023, 38% of books that were banned covered topics on health and well-being for students, probably usually sexual topics. 20% of the books that were banned included characters of color or discussions of race and racism. And 26% of the books were banned included LGBTQ plus characters or themes. Now, the majority of Americans are against banning books. It's just a small minority of people, usually affiliated with right-wing political organizations, that are responsible for the school book bans and attempts to ban books at public libraries. What can you do to stop them? You can go to school board meetings, even if you don't have children, or call your school and let them know you are against bans. You can report attempts to ban books in your school or public library to the American Library Association. They keep track and they help. You can connect to your local LGBTQ plus organizations that are fighting the bans. You can connect to anti-racism organizations that are fighting the bans. You can vote in your local elections for school board. Make sure you know the candidate's stance on freedom to read. Get familiar with your community's library board and library policies. It's easy to find. They're on the website of almost all libraries. This is not an easy fight, but it is one well worth the energy and time. We can give our communities the gift of freedom to read. We can restore kids' right to have free range in the library. Let's unite to protect our fellow bookworms. Come on.
Today we are celebrating the grand reopening of our church library, and I am so delighted to be here to tell you all about it. There will be a celebratory reception in Founders Hall following worship, and the library is open. Donna thinks this is funny, for informative tours. If any of you have been in our library, it's about this big. So the tours are very short, but we'll be there to answer questions. But I hope that you'll all take a few minutes to go and take a look and see what we've done. This new library would not have been possible without the help of all of you, with your suggestions, your encouragement, and your donations. As a result, the library is truly a part of this community. We'd like to recognize the heroic efforts of those folks who worked tirelessly on the cleanup after our building flooded. The flood that caused us to lose so much, including most of our library books. Donna and I made a good team on the library project. I did the computer work, and together we did the planning, but Donna Lane did most of the inventorying, labeling, cleaning, sorting, etc. I know when she volunteered to help me with the library that she had no idea that she'd be doing the lion's share of the work. Of course, neither did I at the time. Thank you so much, Donna. Now, here's just a few highlights regarding how the library is set up and how to use it. Books are arranged in groups of like subjects. There are easily located subject keys in the shelves that will assist you in knowing what symbol is used for which subject, and the shelves themselves are also marked with the subjects. We are using a cataloging app called Library Thing, and a link will be provided on the library webpage that will allow you to search the inventory. The books on this inventory are sorted into the same categories as they are on the shelves in the library. The webpage is still under construction, but we'll let you know when it's available. It'll be soon. You are also able to submit book reviews of books you've read in our shelves by submitting them to the library email address of library@communityuuchurch.org. Those emails will go to myself and to Donna, and we will have them added to our webpage and to the library records for others to read. And then each month, there will be a new spotlight book from our inventory. It'll be on the webpage and displayed on our shelves with a brief synopsis. This is this month's Spotlight. We've tried to make the library as easy to use as possible and easy to enjoy. When you find the book you want, you simply check it out on the clipboard in front of the window, being sure to enter all the requested information, including the date you checked it out. Then when you bring it back, hopefully within a couple of weeks or so, just put it in the basket and enter the date you returned it on your line where you checked it out. Finally, we want to point out that we have a large collection of children's books. In fact, kids have their own corner, complete with a place for them to sit and read. After long consideration, it was decided that children's books would not be inventoried and need not be checked out. However, we would encourage children to be taught to use the checkout sheet. It's a good practice for them to become responsible library users, and we'll hope that all of you parents and grandparents will encourage that. Just please also help them to remember to return the books in a timely manner so other children can enjoy them. Lastly, I want to bring to your attention that there is a section in the library that was donated to us of just banned books. So enjoy. I hope you'll all join us after worship for refreshments and visit the library as well. Thank you.